Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, I'm just reading a comment here. We did an open mic, and one of my people said, "Just watched most of last night's premium call. That was really great. Thank you so much for everything." Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, so quick review, recap, whatever you want to call it, of yesterday. Let me just kind of pull up my notes so that I'm kind of a little more structured. And okay, so without further ado, quick review of yesterday. That was fun. Um, so I guess to provide a little bit of context, let's go back to CPI day where we had a lot of these customer long dealer shorts up around the 6,300 area. So in the pre-market, the unknown became no. Vol came out. We kind of tested up here. And then the macro bros came in. They decided they didn't like it. And we kind of went down below the 50th level, if I remember correctly, and closed somewhere around that 38, 40, 35 level. That seems to be a level we kind of keep coming back to. There seems to be action there. And then Wednesday, we opened up, kind of in that 50-ish zone. I don't remember exactly where are we, in that 50-ish zone. Um, After a little bit of choppy action, the VIX SOQ, the settlement VIX on Wednesday yesterday, we kind of opened. We kind of opened low after the settlement. VIX kind of popped. We went down, and VIX came below or to that 17 level that I've been talking about. And then we had, so when VIX came down, we kind of like hit a local low of the day until the whole, and then VIX kind of came back into the 17. We kind of got this mess until we had the Trump firing announcement. The macro bros didn't like that. Vol spiked. It ended up at 19, higher than that when we were down at 62 100. You can't make this up. That's where we were. 62.40 was a customer long market maker short magnet type thing. We lost 50. We kind of stalled at 40-ish for a second and just kind of sliced through the levels as volatility increased. When volatility increases, these levels lose their potency. On the flip side, once Trump came out and said, just kidding, highly unlikely, but whatever he said, we got that V reversal. IV came in, all that market makers shorting and real money selling reversed, and we kind of came back into the day that we were supposed to have before all that. So by 12:30, whatever it was, by 12:30, 1 o'clock, we were back in the day's range, and we kind of followed the rest of the day's range, as the plan was before all this nonsense. Shameless plug, when that announcement came out and we kind of just started moving up 62.20, I put out a tweet saying what I thought was going to happen. You can check my feed, and it pretty much played out. Stuff like that is typically for my subscribers, but on newsy days, I'm, sending it out. Hopefully it's helpful to other people. Okay, so what have you done for me lately? Where are we at now? Thanks for the history lesson. Let's talk about today. Okay, so today, first of all, we have retail sales. I guess they came in, and jobless claims and whatever, that stuff, and looks like no big reaction. Taiwan semi beat. That news came in whatever time, sometime in the morning. We kind of had a little drift up. So we're basically flat in the overnight session. Down a little bit, up a little bit. Call it flat in the overnight session. Um, so I keep talking about the straddle price. So here was the straddle price from last week, 61.70. Last Friday to this Friday, 61.70, 61.50. And that's why we keep on seeing features showing up around these levels throughout the chain. And these levels have been respected and held. And so the straddle price for today, for next Friday, puts us right around 6,200, shocker, and right around where, let me look at my notes, right around 63.10 up here, also shocker. So kind of, the range is tightening in, kind of around the levels where we expect it to be. Okay, let's see where else. Let's get back to where we are. Okay, I got to switch gears to this because this is important. What's the name of the trading view indicator? I'll DM me and I'll get that to you. Or DM me on Twitter, probably the easiest way to do it. Okay, so let's get back to here. So where are we today? Let me make sure I don't have the wrong day on. A couple of days ago, I had the wrong day on that. Okay, very good. So the zones of interest that I'm looking at are 62.40 and 62.70. Why? Because we have these two market maker short customer long zones, which tend to act as magnets. Market makers kind of hedge in that direction, and we have these two market maker long zones in here. So we have this perfect choppy zone where we're over 50, 55, and we got a little thing pulling us up, but then we stall at 65, maybe go to 70, 75, undercut. Then the suppressive flows from this shorting pushes us back down, but then we get the bounce from here. And so this looks like a pretty choppy, sloppy zone, and I kind of go through the details of what I expect. But choppy, sloppy zone, maybe undercuts and reclaims back into it throughout the day. 70, 40. Maybe undercut to 35 and then sneak back up in here and kind of come back around that 50-ish level. Should we be able to break above this 65, 70 area, 75? The next stopping point is 62.85, and for those of you that are on my Substack, on the trading view string, I forgot to put in 62.85, so mark it manually. That's kind of where we should stall. However, should we get through this somehow, some way, we have all these stacks up here, stacked short. That can kind of pull us up through here. However, at the end of the day, assuming these stay here, then these decay and push us back down. So we have this other zone. If we get over this 70 thing, maybe stall out at 85 or get sucked above it and kind of fail somewhere up here and then come back in here. Don't tell me I'm looking at yesterday. Don't tell me that. Oh shit, I am. Okay, take two. That's what I looked like yesterday. It doesn't change that much. Actually, it looks better. Actually, it looks better. Second time I did that, I'm going to have to be careful. This actually looks much better. Now we have more of a stall down here at 40, 55, 50. I like the way this looks better. So now we have that 85 stall on top. Shit, I'm going to have to rewrite the whole thing. People that get my stuff expect to rewrite a little later in the day after the action. Oops. That's the second time I did that this week. I forgot to update this. But yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, we looked at the correct day for today, right, David? In the overnight session. Anyway, reset. So if we're over, we have the 60 stall zone, same area, up toward 85 magnet. I got to redo this. And then stalling out up here in the 90s, stopping at 63.05. Same kind of area. Should we break below the 62.50? Kind of slow grind right down toward that 35. So this is basically the same, only the action will be slower, grindy, with stopping at that 25. Same story. However, should this break, again, same thing, 62.20, we have this sharp magnet down to 62.20, where we can continue down to 6,200, undercut, reclaim, and come back up through the levels. And we still have this down at the bottom of that zone to be where it kind of stalls out. Let's take a look at the heat map. So the heat map just kind of real clearly shows us 62.20 is the downside OMG. Should we break below this 40 level, we're kind of headed down to here. Here's our chop zone, the 40 to 65 level. So the zones are the same. Nothing much changed, only some of the nuances within the zones. The zones are the same. Should we break above here, now we got this magnet up toward 85, which I left out on my string, and overcut, reclaim to 6,300, so then get sucked back to 85, whatever. We have the QYLD roll today. Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look. Okay, so QYL, the YLD family of funds, Yield Max, among their products, they sell basically a covered call, we'll call it, on NDX, SPX, and RUT. However, for whatever reason, they only buy back the in-the-money call on the NDX. And so they'll be buying back, where is it? Let's find the open interest, something way deep in the money. Where is it? I think I'm going too far. They'll be buying that. They always sell the AM expiration. There it is. Wow, look at it. It's a 1 delta, 21652. So they're going to be buying back 4,000 of these today. I'm not sure how that, since this is hedged 1-to-1 at this point, I don't think it'll have a big impact, but we'll watch. More importantly, tomorrow they're going to sell the August, okay, let's just say it's somewhere up here. Somewhere up here, call it 2,300. And that tends to have, I'm just putting it in at, just so that I have the number handy. At 23.95. Whoops. Clearly that won't fill, but that way I just kind of have it handy. And that tends to have a suppressive impact tomorrow, going into tomorrow. So let's keep an eye on that. All right, here's some of the stuff that I did live online or whatever, and so far it's looking good. Here's the, I've already rolled up some of the stuff from the weekly straddle play. And so here's what we have. Let's see what we got for today in terms of trading ideas. Okay, so here's one that cancel replace. Obviously, I sold it for 90 cents, whatever it is. Obviously, I don't want to buy it back for that. I like to clear the decks. So let's clear the decks of this. Let's clear the, okay. Okay, so we're clearing the decks of the whole iron condor. Okay, good. So right now we're trading up. I'm not sure what the good news was. Maybe the numbers, whatever. We're at the top of that 70, but remember I kind of did this wrong. So really 85 was the level we should stall at. Good morning. 85 is the level we should stall at. So remember we had that 62.20. Where is it? We had that 62.20 over here. Round number. To get decent juice on the puts, you kind of have to sell around here. I don't know how crazy about that I am. I still think that 35 level to hold. The expected move is 28. So yeah, yes. So, something like this, not enough juice. It's only 35. So what I would do, put it in as a wish trade. Whoops, I screwed that up. Put it in as a wish trade at 45 cents. I'll leave it there for now. Folks that like to trade a little tighter might want to, I might look at something like this. Not a lot of juice down here for now. So I'd look to see what happens on a pullback and try to get in there. Expected move is about 30, so maybe you want to go with 25, but 5 wide, there's no juice, 10 wide. So I'm not crazy about that right now. I'd look for the pullback. On top, Well, again, I wish trade. I'd be happy to get this for 45 cents. Put that in for 45 cents. And now, okay, it looks like we're flying. I don't know what happened. I'm looking at my E-mini futures. We're not flying too much. It looks pretty dramatic on my 30-minute E-mini chart. Pretty big bounce from below 97 to about a 20-point bounce here. We got this bounce here, almost a 15, 20-point bounce. Looks kind of dramatic on the on the 30-minute. That looks kind of dramatic. Retail sales, employment numbers. So now the macro bros. Is the economy good? Is it bad? Is it too good? Is it too bad? Will they cut? Won't they cut? None of my business. Whatever they like is what I like. Okay, so given this reaction, let's just kind of take a look again. So we're kind of around 70. Okay, so we're right around here. We could get the magnet up to here to 85, stalling out up here. Got this little thing at 63.05 and then stall at 63.10. So where might we fly it today? I don't have a lot of clarity. 75 might be a good level. I don't really see something that I love right now. I might just put this in as a placeholder. For 30 cents, 30 bucks. The downside fly looks more interesting. Should we pull back toward that? Where should we pull back to? Should we get into the sub 60 range and get into this chop zone? I like that for 60 cents. The 10Y for 60 cents. I like the way that looks. And these are lottos that then I'll work around or whatever. Okay, sorry about the kerfluffle. Now I got to rewrite that whole thing. I had the 62.40 wrong. The levels don't change that much, but the reactions at the levels change. Note to self, make sure you hit refresh before you look at it. Okay, comments, pins, whatever. Okay, in that case, I'm going to end early so I can take care of that paperwork, so to speak. Take care, everybody.